What's up, guys? We are back again with the Realness Lounge podcast, and I got a special guest. You guys seen her since October 2022. Well, you probably seen her on Facebook and Instagram, but y'all know what I mean. But anyways, she's back and she's better than ever. Guys, give it up for my best friend, Andrea. Hey! So she's back after it's been a while. I mean, it's been a long time. And then also our newest male co-host, we got Laquan on here. Say what's up. Guys, it's been such a long time with Andrea. Honestly, you guys probably been following her on social media, Facebook, at Andrea the Baby Doll on Instagram. We'll put her thing right here. But honestly, Andrea, how do you feel? I mean, coming after this last episode, mentally, you know, you're barely coming out of addiction. How are you feeling now mentally?
Barely. Well, it's been longer than barely, but honestly, like the first episode, I wasn't really thinking about things because I was newly sober when we did it. Like I was just a few months sober, you know?
Right.
So mentally, like I was still kind of like on autopilot, you know, trying to like get my brain to function normally. Right. Remember how I mentioned I couldn't cry? Because my emotions weren't like alive yet, you know? Like when you give up drugs and, you know, that synthetic dopamine, like your feelings and everything has to come back. I felt like a new baby. Like it was so weird. It was a weird time for me. Like I felt like I was ready and I really thought about the things that I was gonna say. And in my mind at the time, I was like, okay, that's good, you know, because I don't want to bash anybody and I don't want to, you know, maybe put too much info out there. But I feel like maybe some things I should have held off on because, you know, I was still going through like some psychosis because that took a while for them, you know, because I was on meds and stuff. So yeah, I think it's a great idea to have me back because now I do feel better and I do feel like whole again. And I could actually, you know, like speak as like a happy person, not like as a fake happy like I was last time. Yeah,
that's deep. I feel like a lot of people do that where it's like we have to fake it till we make it. Maybe some of you guys are watching this right now. You're going through depression. You're going through a hard time and you're faking it right now. But it feels so good when you do the work on your mental health to really feel good now, right?
Yeah.
What work did you do on your mental health after that episode? What have you done differently? And what did you do to reach the point where you're like, you're not faking it no more. You're actually happy.
Okay, well, I don't want to like go on forever about it, so I'm gonna try to sum it up as best as I could. But like basically, whenever I was first on, remember I was talking about my son and how I was in the process of like, you know, trying to get him back or, you know, like some sort of arrangement because, you know, with the courts, like I did have visitation, but, you know, like there was like a misunderstanding, you know, on his dad's part and my part. So, you know, we went back for that. And so that was the one thing that was really like affecting me. Like I was, the further like time went, the more I felt, oh my God, I'm never going to see my son again. I was struggling to continue to want to live. And I was struggling with like staying sober because I just like, you know, there was a part of me that was just like, you're never going to see him again. Like it just felt so far away, you know, because the process that I was supposed to do was supposed to be simple, but because people didn't communicate with each other, I'm talking about the court and like, you know, the hair follicle place for the drug test, they didn't communicate, you know, so like that made it really hard for me. And I just felt like the more time passed, the you know, the less like I was gonna see him or I was never gonna see him. And that really like tore me, you know, because my son is my life and now my daughter is my life too. And you know, so I was like, I need to do something. And a lot of people may know, but I did have a baby from the last time that I was on here.
Yes.
And yeah, so like I was like, I can't be feeling like this because I have now 2 kids to take care of. So I actually took it upon myself to go to rehab in 2023. So after I was on the episode, and like I didn't think, I was delusional. Like I didn't think I needed like the extra help because I was willing to get clean, you know. But it really got like my gears going in my brain because I wasn't used to society structure. I was used to like doing whatever I wanted, you know, kind of, and you know, just running amok, you know, running the streets, like. And the crazy part is like I've never actually been homeless, you know. And I know maybe a lot of people who were at the time getting high with me and stuff, they probably see my post or, you know, my episode, my last one, and think like, what is she talking about? Like, she didn't even have it bad like that. And some of them, they knew me like in that downtime, because I asked God to make my life miserable because I just couldn't live without my son, you know? And so I finally went to rehab, and, you know, that really got my brain going again. And now, like, we came to an agreement with the courts, me and his dad. And I'm just really grateful, you know, that we were able to, like, you know, agree on something.
Yeah,
and
it takes time.
Yeah, it does. And, like, I was really upset with him because I was like, you know, like, we had both made mistakes as parents. But now that I look back at it, I'm like, okay, I see, you know,
the maturity, you know,
where he was coming from, you know, and I really appreciate that. And, like, also another thing that I couldn't live with was, like, first of all, like, I know that he's treated so well, you know, over there. Like, he has his dad, he has his stepmom, and he has his stepbrother. And he always would tell me how, like, how much he, you know, loves them. And I was always really grateful for that. You know, I was never, like, bitter or anything about that. So I'm not, like, insinuating that, you know, I think anything was going on, but it's just, like, the fact that I personally didn't know what was happening in my, like, son's life. Like, that was killing me. But I think maybe that's what I needed in the end for me to, like, get my shit together, because it was like, oh, you know, if you get sober, we'll get you this, or we'll do this for you, you know, like, bribing me and stuff, and nothing worked. And it was things that I've always wanted.
Wow.
But it wasn't until I didn't see my son for a period of time that I was like, no, like, this is not gonna happen.
So, like, so what do you do to unpack when you wake up now in comparison to how you were last time?
So after, like, maybe like a month of seeing my son, and not having that anxiety, like, oh my God, is he gonna be, you know, am I just, like, suddenly not gonna see him again? Once I got, like, that trust, and, you know, vice versa. Oh, my bad. I was like, okay, you know, this is a regular thing now. I can calm down, you know? So it just went away, the depression and the desire to, like, want to end things, you know?
Absolutely.
And I was happy.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm so proud of you.
Time.
I am so proud of you.
Yeah. Because, you know, sometimes when you say, like, you know, you wish things, you know, bad upon yourself, every time we speak, you're, like, casting a spell. So everything you say, it manifests. You can either manifest good or you can manifest bad too by saying it. So,
yeah.
You know,
no,
so that's
true.
why I say, like, what do you say to yourself now when you wake up? You're like, no, I got this.
Self-talk.
I can do it.
Honestly,
like, how do you manifest those words? How do you cast good spells on?
It just comes naturally to me, because now, like, I have my baby 24/7, you know, my son, I get him every other weekend right now during the summer. So, you know, when I have them both, I just wake up happy because they're right next to me, you know, and my kids mean the world to me. And just watching them be happy genuinely makes me happy. So, like, it really just, like, I just see them and I'm automatically happy, even though I might be going through some things still, you know, like, very minimal.
Absolutely, yeah.
But, you know, that's my happiness right now.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to let anything or anybody, like...
Yep, big time,
girl.
big time.
And I know Laquan watched the episode. I mean, what can you tell Laquan from this last episode to now? What changes do you see in Andrea?
I could feel like she's a little bit more happy. Still just unpacking some things. Because, like, when you go through those kind of events, that's like a traumatic event.
Yeah,
and now I could see,
definitely.
like, in comparison to how you were last time to this time, you know, it seems like an earthquake hit you last time. So now you're rebuilding yourself, you're finding stuff, and you're like, okay, I don't like that about myself over here. Let me just throw that away.
Yeah.
It's like you're looking at a pantry, and the pantry is a reflection of your mental health. So you're, like, looking at it, you're like, let me take that out. I don't like addiction. Get that out. Oh, I like this. I like the calm version of me. Let me put that in there. And I don't like this. I don't like that. It's like you're rebuilding the whole structure within yourself. And that's what I personally see and get from you.
That's on
like
point.
Today.
No, that's literally what it is. Like, a lot of people will tell me, like, after they have conversations with me, like, oh, you're so wise, you're so smart, you know so much. But I'm like, I'm so humble, because all of this stuff doesn't come from me just knowing. Like, I've been through, like, I'm 28, but I've been through, like, you know, so many different versions of myself, you know?
Yeah.
So I don't judge nobody.
Real
and
shit.
I don't, like,
Real
speak
shit.
ill of people. Like, even if I know people don't like me, you're just, like, non-existent to me. Because I'm not going to give it that energy, you know? Like,
Yeah, that's what you have to do.
manifestation.
What it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're like, okay,
exactly.
that's what you think of me? All right, cool.
Yeah.
Think that way and leave me alone then.
Exactly.
Yep. Whatever you think about me is true. Leave me alone. Leave me alone now. You know.
Right.
That's
so
kind of how
trial
it is.
And error.
Facts.
Like,
Yeah.
honestly, because I've done it all. Like, unfortunately, like not flexing in any way, shape, or form. Like,
not a
absolutely.
flex.
I don't
yeah.
wish that on nobody.
Yeah, no. And I think what's important too is that it's like that quote where it says, you may not be where you want to be, but you're damn sure not where you used to be. And I think that's a celebration in itself, because it takes a long time for someone to realize, okay, there's something wrong with me. So first you got to be self-aware to change. Then you got to know, okay, so how can I change? And a person won't change unless they want to change. You can tell a person blue in the face, hey, I think you're doing this wrong. You need to change. Can you change for me? Like that man, that man that keeps cheating on y'all asses, okay? He ain't gonna change because he don't want to change. So it's like,
so glad I can't relate.
No, but that's exactly what it is. People have to be self-aware to change, and that's what I'm saying. She came a long way. Also, you mentioned you got your son back, right? How was that process like to earn his trust again? Because obviously, there's that fear where it's like, and as an adult, okay, we have that fear of what if I let this person in and they disappoint me. Now we put it in a child's mind, right, where it's like, what if I let my mom in again and she disappoints me? How did you earn Eli's trust?
So I think one thing that I've always kind of like, that I was like, it was like how do I say this? Like, I thought it was the correct thing to do, and it's always been a thing since he was little, you know, because I would always be working. So I think, like, in my mind, I just didn't know it. I would compensate, like, the time that I was missing out on him by, like, you know, just gifting him things. And so with this time around, like, I always knew that I always had that in me. Like, even if I was, like, down and out, if my son asked me for something, like, I would try my best to get it for him. So there was a few things that he had asked me for, like some red, black and white ones, like high tops, like these, that he wanted when he was like 6. And I got them for him when he was 7, and that was the year that I didn't see him. But when he asked me for them, I was still in addiction. He also asked me to buy him a gold chain, and I got him that. And like, I told him, look, I'm getting you the things that you asked me for, not because material things are important, but because I want you to see. Like, I told you I would get sober. I told you I was going to be there, and I told you that, you know, I was never going to give up on you and me. And I was like, so I want you to see that I can keep my word, but like, just know it's not always going to be like this, you know? And he understood that, you know? And like, I think for some time I was kind of like, you know, resorting to like, oh, like, what do you want? I'll give it to you.
They're kind of desperate to win their trust back.
Exactly.
Okay.
But then I quickly realized, like, yes, he loves the gifts, but he doesn't even care about them. Like, he would tell me, like, Mom, like, spend some money on yourself, you know? Or like, I would be like, oh, do you want to go to Walmart and get a toy? Or like Target? Or like, he loves to read, so Barnes and Nobles. And he would be like, well, you already bought me stuff. And then I'd be like, oh my God, like, I'm making a mistake. So, but thankfully he's a sweetheart. He's so understanding and he's so mature for his age. Some of it, unfortunately, through the things that he has been through, you know, due to my fault. But, I mean, I can't go back and change things, but what I can do is make things better. So like
real shit.
Yeah. So I mean, make things, you know, make things better. But so like what I'll do is like anytime there's an opportunity, because now that I've exposed him to addiction, he kind of has like that risk, and I don't want him to become that. Yeah. So I'm like, what do you like to do? What sport are you interested in? Do you want to play an instrument? And like whenever I have an opportunity to teach him a lesson, like I like make sure that I like really drill it in his head. And you know, at the end it's up to him if he's gonna take that and walk with it. And I tell him like, learn from what I went through and from how miserable I was. Like, don't do those things. And if you ever, you know, like happen to go through these things, talk to me. If you don't want to talk to me, talk to your dad. Talk to anybody you feel comfortable talking to, you know? Because I'm just like, I'm going to do everything in my power for him to not go down the same path as me. But he's an honor roll student. He's a straight A student. He's been since kindergarten, you know? And, you know, I hope to only continue to encourage him to keep it that way by guiding him in the right direction.
And that's all you can do. All you can do is guide. And I know you stated, you know, the way you were parenting before was kind of like materialistic at first. And then you're like, what's going on with me? Laquan, what do you think about that? So she was doing it materialistic, but then she's like, what am I doing? How do you think about how she went about it and how she's going about it now?
Yeah, I feel like inside, it's like what you were trying to do was fix within, so you won't go without.
Yeah.
So that's what you were doing. You're figuring out that process on top of being a mom too, and on top of dealing with stuff that you had in the past. So you had like stuff in the past that's trying to keep coming and tell you stuff in your head like, hey, you're not a good mom, and even though you're trying your best, and sometimes trying your best is spiraling out of control, giving them whatever you want. And then you realize, okay, it's not that. It's like time. I need to be time. Okay. So, and then you start doing the time, and then you start thinking about the time that you lost. And it's just like, it's like a whole journey in itself. And you just trying to figure out, you know, what was going on inside so you can be like a better mom. And that's what it's all about when you try to rebuild yourself. That's what you're doing. Yeah. You're literally going day by day, and each day is the president. There is president. Each day is the present. It's not the past. It's not the future. It's all about like now. Because people who don't go through trauma events, they don't know. They're like, whoa, you about to be better. You know, look at your long-term goals. Right. It's like, no, if you're going through trauma, it's like about now.
Exactly.
Now, you know, it's not about the past. It's not about tomorrow. And it's about now, because you still got to wake up, you know? Yeah.
And you saying that reminds me of something. Like, a lot of people would tell me, like, I was in and out of like mental health facilities. Like, I was losing it. Like, I'm not even gonna lie. But they would tell me, like, the nurses and, you know, the techs, you know, the BHTs, the behavioral health techs. They would be like, because I'd be like, I would talk about him, I would cry about him, like that. It was always about him. Like, I never did not mention him. Yeah. But so I'll mention this first. The thing that woke me up from, you know, like that got me to snap out of it was me and my ex, we were in a hotel with this girl and this other girl, and she was on the phone with her baby dad, and she had already had a few years in addiction, like more than me, you know? And when my ex had met her, she got to meet her kids. So, you know, like, she would tell me like little brief, you know, like information about that. And she was on the phone with her baby dad, and he was an alcoholic, but he was a functioning one. But she was just like, you know, straight addict, like roaming the streets and stuff, you know? And he was like, hey, guess what? Our kids got adopted today. And my son has his dad and my family and his dad's family. That wouldn't happen. But just to see the expression on her face, like, it was blank. And I was like, I know it hurts her, but she can't feel it. And that, like, it tore me. And I started crying to my ex, and I told her, I was like, I don't ever want to get to that point. Like, I feel for her so much because I know it hurts her, but at this point, she's just going to go deeper because, you know, it's already gotten to that point. I don't ever want to get there. And I was bawling my eyes off. So that was really my wake up moment, you know?
Wake up call.
And shortly after that, it was less than a year, I ended up getting sober. And also, I forgot what was the second thing I was going to say.
You're okay. But we're keeping it real in the Realness Lounge. People forget things.
Yes. But, you know, that was my wake up moment for me. And like, it was sad that I got to witness that. But at the same time, like, God put me in that place at that time because I needed to see that, because I didn't want to get to that point. Like, not that I would be in that position necessarily. Absolutely. But, you know, at some point, you know, like, his other parent could have been like, you know what, like, she's just hurting him. Like, and it's just best to, you know, keep him away. But luckily I didn't get there because I witnessed that. So it was like bittersweet.
So how long were you sober when you seen your kid? Like, how long were you sober to when you seen him?
I was a year sober.
A year sober, okay.
A little bit over a year, yeah.
That's good, yeah.
I remember the second thing I was going to say. So when I would go to those mental health facilities, like, they would always tell me, like, relapse is a part of, you know, recovery. And if you relapse today, you can always try again tomorrow. And I'd be like, no, you don't understand. Like, I don't have tomorrow.
No.
Maybe you have tomorrow
like that,
because
yeah.
you don't have kids, you
Yeah.
know, but you have other people that care about you. So you should anyway. But like for me, like if I lose out on my son's youth, I don't know if he's going to forgive me or even have a close bond with me.
Yeah,
so I was like,
bond.
I have to do this now. I was so desperate, you know,
Yeah.
like
I think
I tried so many times.
You know?
so when you said, am I calling you?
No, go ahead.
Okay. So when you said it was a year, I asked you that because I know within our brains, we're renewed every single day. Like a person who's trying to heal themselves, we're like renewing ourselves like every 5 minutes, every day. Every
Yeah.
positive thought you tell yourself, you're renewing yourself. And I think if you guys could look it up, it's I think it's called, we build 700 neural stem cells. Like every single day, 700,000 neural stem cells every single day.
I like fun facts.
Yeah, it has to do with emotions.
We're pulling up a fun fact right now, guys, because
Yeah.
we want to know. You know, obviously, people go through a lot of things when it comes to rebuilding and healing. Healing is a part of, you know, because it's like when you're healing, you have to unlearn the toxic stuff that you learned in your childhood. So, like if you grew up with an angry father, you have to unlearn. Okay, the way he dealt with this anger is bad. Let me do better for my children.
Yes.
Because they always say, heal from what broke you as a child before the child has to heal from you.
Like the generational trauma.
That's it. Yes. So what do you know about that, Norms?
So, like, for me, like, there's times when I think about things, like, because I think about a lot of things, especially when I'm, like, watching my kids sleep. You know, they sleep with me. We share a room right now. That's fine. And
She's like, that's fine.
Yeah, and he wants to, you know, like, he had his own bed, but he just, you know, he misses me and I miss him.
It's a parent thing.
He's
I
a
feel
child,
like.
Absolutely,
you know?
yeah.
But yeah, so, like, I'll watch them sleep and I'm just like, they're so precious. And I'm just like, man, like I want to say so much. And like I post a lot about my recovery and like things that I've been through and stuff like that. And my sister sent me this meme that was like, I heal out loud because I suffered in silence for so long. And I'm like, that's true. And another thing is because accountability, that like the things that I post really make me have to be accountable. So tomorrow I could wake up and be like, dang, you know what? Like I'm not feeling good. I don't like these responsibilities. I'm going to go get high. But because I posted all this on I have pride, you know, like I do still have pride. And I was always embarrassed of being seen, you know, or you know, like everybody knew, you know, it was no secret because, you know, like I have a lot of friends, but it's just like I still try to hide my face. Cause I went through like a phase, you know, where I was just like very bad. So like, that's why I decided to put it out there for accountability. But then I realized that people started like reaching out and being like, how did you get sober? How do you stay sober? Can you give me some resources?
Absolutely.
And I'm like,
yeah.
I could help
Yeah,
you,
you
know?
got it, yeah.
I'm so passionate about that now.
Yeah.
Like I've helped, I've attempted to help out people and I would like to build a platform on that. But you know, like I'm still kind of going through the motions. And like right now, I think the best thing for me to do is just give my all to my kids because for one, my baby's new. And for two, my son had a whole year without me.
Yeah.
You know, like I said, I don't really do much like aside from just be with them, especially when I have my son and I have them together because of that reason. But like I just think that helping others is really my passion. It's always been my passion. Since I was like a little girl, I remember I've always wanted to adopt. And I've always wanted to help out like homeless people. And now that I know that the connection between like drug abuse and homelessness, I want to do it even more because I may not have necessarily been homeless, but I did experience a lot of the things that go hand in hand with that.
With it, yeah.
Because of the fact that I wasn't stable and I didn't want to go home and bother my parents. I didn't want to go home and for my son to see me tripping out, you know.
Yeah,
like,
so you just stayed out, yeah.
Exactly. And like it was hard. It was a very hard time. Like it was fun until it wasn't.
Yeah.
You know?
Wow.
And like it was a choice at first and then it wasn't. And I would be like I would cry. My mom would see me. She would take me to the sanctuary. I would get on my hands and knees. Like I'm not even exaggerating and I'm not embarrassed either. Like it's my reality and I'm not going to hide it.
Period.
Yeah. But I would get on my hands and knees and pray.
She real though.
And I would like have pictures of my son and I would carry pictures of my son and you know, like the manifestation you were talking about. Like that's really what I was trying to do. And I was like trying really hard to see everything a glass half full rather than a glass half empty.
Yeah.
Because if you focus on the negative, that's what's going to come to you and you're not allowing for the good things to come in. you know?
Yeah.
Wow.
Absolutely.
No,
Yep.
that's facts, Norms. And especially because, you know, you went through so much and you want to help people now. It's like our story, right? Because sometimes we compare ourselves. We're like, okay, I'm not, or this person just bought a house and I didn't buy a house. So we're like, we compare ourselves. But the truth is that our story is our story. And honestly, everybody has a different story. So rather than comparing, it's more about owning our story, because this is our story.
Yeah, you know what? It's so funny that you say that, because one of the girls, I'm not gonna say her name, but one of the girls that I told you I saw at the gym and was like, "Oh, are you ready?" You know, we were kind of having that conversation in the sauna about like, you know, like, oh, like people my age are here, and I'm like, you know what? Like, I feel you, because same, like when I was younger, like I've always been humble and I've always treated people like how I want to be treated, but at the same time, there was that hunger in me that wanted to do better than my friends, you know?
Oh, absolutely.
And like, but here's the thing, if they did better than me and if they got ahead of me, like I wasn't ever a hater, like, oh, you're at the top, like I'll see you there, you know, like type shit.
Yeah.
But like, you know, like, but I was like very like, you know, focused on trying to get ahead. And I was like the youngest of my friend group, and like I think I was the only female at the time when like we first, you know, like started being super close and going everywhere together. And like I remember I was probably like one of the first, like with, you know, like a vehicle and an apartment and everything. And I kept thinking about the next thing, like what's the next thing? And I really thought in my head, like, I'm gonna be so far in life. And it wasn't so much like about like wanting to get ahead of everybody, though it was.
Yeah.
But a lot of it was like, by this age, I want to accomplish this because I had a baby at this age. So I want to be able to give him this, this, and this.
Absolutely.
You know,
That's great,
and
yeah.
I was very headstrong about that. And like a lot of people would like, you know, like be like, you know, I don't know how you do it and stuff like that. But anyway, after going through the things that I went through, like a lot of people would tell me like people who knew me like before drugs were like, how could you ever, like, you're the last person that I ever expected, you know, to go down that hill.
Yeah.
But also people that were getting high with me, especially in my like worst like times, like the last 2 years, they would tell me like, oh my God, I thought you'd never get out of it.
Oh, okay.
And I'm like,
That
that's
was far
because you
in.
guys saw two different versions of
Yeah.
me.
Period.
But there wasn't just two.
Yep.
There was so many versions of me. So like that's why like I don't even compare, because I could be down and out today, but tomorrow, you know, I could be where I want to be. And as long as I have my kids and my family,
Right.
which is what really matters, and my mental health, you know.
Yeah,
that's, you know,
absolutely, yeah.
I'm not tripping about nothing.
Sheesh.
You know?
Yeah.
Andrea is keeping it real on the Realness Notch podcast right now, because she's making a point, guys. Like, it's like we want to compete with others, but honestly, the person that we should be competing is the person in the mirror. And also,
Everyone moves at their own pace, and that's
Period.
what I learned.
that's it. That's what it is. And also, if you have Andrea on Facebook, you'll see her at the gym. She working out. How do you feel like mental health affects when you work out? What did working out do for your mental health? How does that go hand in hand?
Okay, so one of the things that I was really struggling with, like, you know, like I said, when I initially got sober,
Right.
was the depression. Like, I've been watching Intervention, and they're like, oh, I feel great after 50 something days. And I'm like, how, you know?
Yeah.
So if I could do it, anybody could do it. But anyways, I like literally could not get over that depression. But that's because I wasn't doing anything besides working, and I wasn't feeling, you know, that emptiness, and providing my brain with those things that I like to do that give me dopamine, like real dopamine that gets created by my brain and not given to it by drugs. When you stop using drugs, your brain stops creating that dopamine, which is your happy, feel good, you know, chemicals in your brain. And when you do something like your podcast, your brain receptors will signal your brain and tell you, okay, create this chemical and be happy. That's what will happen. When you stop using drugs, all of a sudden, I went cold turkey.
Yeah.
So your brain doesn't know how to make those chemicals anymore, because you've been providing it with an abundance amount of synthetic dopamine. So that's what was happening in my brain. And I found out that when you go to the gym, that is one of the best ways to create dopamine in your brain.
Real shit,
Absolutely,
though.
it is.
So like, if I'm feeling down, if I'm like, you know, if I'm feeling craving, you know, or like thinking like dang, like if I start getting in my head about like, you know, how I used to get high, or, you know, thinking about stuff like that, or if something makes me upset, sad, angry, I just go to the gym, and like at the time, like I feel so much anxiety. But once I'm actually there and I leave, like I feel so good, you know?
Yeah, no. And what do you have to say about those people who want to go to the gym, but let's say they are experiencing gym anxiety, where it's like, what if they're staring at me and I'm using this machine and I do it wrong and people make fun of me? How did you handle your gym anxiety?
So I started out by working out at home, maybe like a couple days, you know, because I've kind of always like liked to work out. I just never did it like, you know, like all the time. It was like on and off,
yeah,
you know?
We feel that.
So like all of us.
Yeah, so I kind of like put a little routine together. After a few days, I moved on to my community gym, and I was able to take my baby, you know? So then there I started running, and then I started using weights, and I started using like other like little machines they had there. And then once I saw that I was confident there and I was seeing a little bit of progress, I think it was when I noticed that I could run a mile nonstop in under 10 minutes. That's when I was like, okay, I'm ready for, you know, the big playground. And so I got a membership at EOS, and now I go there. And like, I'm not gonna lie to you, like the first 2 weeks I was just on the treadmill. Like I would run, I would run like 2 miles, and then I would like pace myself like for another 2 or 3, sometimes even 6 miles like in one day, because I was scared. But then I was like, you know, one day I was like, you know what, F this, nobody's watching me.
Real.
And I know how to work out, I know how to use these machines, and if I don't know how, I could just ask somebody, you know. And you have to put it in your head, like everybody in here is just here to work out. Nobody's worried about what you're doing.
Literally,
shit, though.
And then also, like, if they are looking at you, because I find myself doing it, is because I'm wondering, are you almost done with that machine?
Yeah, it'd be something little like that. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm like, okay, where can I go next?
Yeah.
Where is it empty? So like, I'll be looking around while I'm working out, and I'm like, man, I don't even care if people think I'm looking at them.
Shit.
Facts, yeah.
No, that's real. Honestly, like, I know Laquan works out.
Yeah.
How do you feel like mental health affects working out? And also, what advice would you give to somebody who's struggling with gym anxiety, or they want to get a gym membership, but they're like, what if somebody's looking at me when I'm running on the treadmill?
Yeah, facts. All right, here you go, sales pitch. Yeah.
He's like, this is my jam.
Sometimes you got to get a trainer or train with somebody. Like ask somebody to come with you, because if you go to the gym yourself, if you're not like a person like me, I don't care about headphones because I like to hear my environment. So when I wear headphones, I always got one like way off anyways, and it keeps slipping off. I'm doing curls, it keeps slipping off, so I just don't wear it sometimes.
Yeah.
So the best thing to do is just bring somebody with you, or like hire a trainer.
Yeah.
And that's what I would say about that. You got to bring somebody with you so you can be silly with, laugh with, look at people. Oh, she wearing something nice, or oh, he looks dope, or dang, he's buff, or you know what I mean?
Distracted.
Yeah. And then you'll just start loving it. Because me personally, I like to film content everywhere. You know, everywhere I go, I like to put myself out there like that. And I just get a tripod, boom, put it right there. And a lot of people have stuff to say about it. I haven't had any experience with that. I just try to face it to where, you know, it's respectable.
Yeah.
To others who are at the gym. But, you know, now when I go to the gym, even when I invite people, they're like, man, you gonna put that tripod up? Like, oh, they looking around like, oh, you really gonna do that? I'm like, I'm really gonna do that. Because that person right there has a favorite person that they're following that's doing the same thing I'm doing. Exactly. So I'm like, we all doing content. That's all we doing. Yeah. I'm like, they doing it too. So yeah, I'll be mic'd up sometime, and I'm just like, yeah. Hey, and people like it sometimes. They be like, oh, that's tight. Where can I follow you? I met like probably like 10 people, that's know,
wow.
just because I have a mic, and they're just like, what's that? You know, can I be on it? You know, just kind of curious. And I got clients out of that too. I met friends, clients, all that, just by just being open in myself and just not caring.
It's confidence.
That's true. Yeah. That's true. And how do you feel like mental health and working out go hand in hand?
Especially with most definitely, it goes hand in hand, because it's those stem cells that I'm talking about. Like, what we create them every single day, and the more you stay away from those things that give you a quick dopamine fix, like drugs and alcohol and things like that, you're renewed like every single day with those new stem cells. So it's like, it looks like a little horseshoe in the brain. It's like at the bottom of your brain, and that's the stem cell that grows or either shrinks. Yeah. And sometimes that horseshoe looking thing that's on the bottom of our brain, it shrinks when you just give it quick fixes. It could be something as little as like comfort food, or being on your phone for an hour just scrolling. It could be like little dopamine fixes like that. So it's not always drugs and alcohol. So like, don't think y'all getting away, you know, with everything if you're not, you know, doing drugs or alcohol. That's like the extreme. But you can get little dopamine fixes by people pleasing too. like always making people happy. And then next thing you know, you're going home, you're like, oh, now I gotta go over here. I hope they cancel, or you know what I mean.
I suffered with that
Things
when
like
I first
that.
got sober because I wanted to like gain my life back so bad, but now I'm like,
What do you say about it now? About people pleasing now?
Honestly, I'm not gonna lie. I still kind of suffer with it because I've always been giving. You know, I'm very generous, and it honestly does make me happy. You know, and I love, like, I don't know if you've ever read that book, The 7 Languages of Love or something, but one of the languages of love is like materials, you know? And I'm not gonna lie, I love when I get gifts, but I'm not gonna expect them because I gave it to you. Like, I gave it to you because it came from the bottom of my heart, you know? And that really makes me happy. And I used to think like, oh, like that's bad, you know, because we were taught that, but it's not. It's just a way of expressing, you know, yourself, and it's fine. So I just think like, you know, whatever makes you happy.
Yeah, no, and I agree. And then I know you stated that you have a new baby. Everybody's seen it. I mean, how did that happen? Well, obviously we know how babies happen. But
Girl, stop.
no, but how do you feel? I mean, honestly, she's so cute. I just recently seen her. I cannot believe I just recently seen her. But she's so cute, honestly. She always posts about her. And honestly, Norma's been an amazing mother, but there's always that mom guilt that I feel like a lot of parents, maybe it's dad guilt, where it's like, am I doing enough for my children? I feel like a lot of y'all parents can relate if you're watching this, where it's like, am I doing enough? How do you handle that guilt that sometimes you feel?
You know what? The last time, I think I was supposed to come on this podcast last year, and we were going to talk about mom guilt.
Yeah.
I was really feeling it at that time, you know, but like I was telling him, if you keep focusing on the negative energy, you don't have any room to bring in the new good stuff. So the way I handle it now is I'm like, I've been through the worst of the worst. I don't wish it on anybody. So all that I can say right now is just as long as I'm being here for my kids, like the rest will come. Like God will reward me for being a good mother and for loving my children and not letting anything get in the way, you know? And, you know, making things better. And so like really like everything comes on its own, and if you're just doing things the right way and you know in your heart you're doing things the right way, things is just they're just gonna come to you. Like honestly, like I'm not even working right now, and you know, partially it was because I was having a hard time finding a job because my mom wanted me to take a few months off to be with my baby, and the second reason was because I just couldn't find one. Like it's been hard. Like I don't know, like, you know, I had a record, but it got brought down to a misdemeanor. No longer a felon.
That's good. Really
Yeah,
good.
and,
I'm just sorry, okay.
Huge.
Yeah, so I'm really happy about that. I actually got off probation in January with no dirty UAs. But yeah, and I was actually supposed to complete some classes, but they were like, you don't even have to do them. Like you did that shit, you know?
Damn.
Yeah,
they
and then
said that.
the fact that I went to rehab and it wasn't court ordered, that really helped me out. But anyways, back on topic. So like everything will just come, you know? Like God does reward you. And if you don't believe in God, like you don't have to bash me or anybody who does. If you believe in the universe or you're a spiritual person or manifestation or your chakras, I don't know. Whatever you believe in, like, you know, I respect it. Just follow that. You know, follow that. Because we all know what's right and what's wrong at the end of the day, you know?
Yeah, no. And let's say somebody's listening to this right now and they're like, man, I felt that on that mom and dad guilt. Or it's like they tell themselves negative things. How do you catch your negative thoughts and how do you change them? Where you're like, man, you're a bad mom. What are you doing for yourself? How do you change that for yourself? Like where you kind of distract yourself, or what do you tell yourself differently? Where you're like, oh shit, I'm talking to myself badly. Let me change it.
I think I just center myself and I ask myself like probing questions. Like, are you doing what you genuinely feel is the right thing in your heart? Are your kids happy? You know, are you doing enough for them? Are you feeding them? Do you prioritize them? You know, like when they need clothes, when they need diapers, you know, when they need XYZ, you know, like I just like, you know, reassure myself, because I do go off track a lot because of my past. I never thought I would go through that. The last thing I ever wanted was for my child to experience his mom as an addict. Like that's insane. But, you know, I just center myself and I bring myself back and I'm like, no, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And I know even if I don't want to admit it, like something in my heart will tell me like, yeah, you're messing up like this. Remember how we went out to eat the other day?
Yeah.
My son was there and I had invited him with me, you know, and I love taking him everywhere because I'm like, I have my, you know, I don't care. He's welcome anywhere, you know, anyway. So I invited him to go with us and he was like, no, Mom, you go. That was actually like a breakthrough for me because he had gotten to, when he first started coming around, like I would maybe go, like to the store by myself, or he wouldn't want to go. He would be calling me every 5 minutes, Mom, where are you? And then he would sometimes cry and be like, well, I didn't want to go, but I'm just scared you're not going to come back, you know? So I was like, I'm not going to leave you. And it wasn't until he was like, Mom, you know what? You go ahead and do that. And I'm like, are you sure? Because you can go with me. Like, I would love to have you there. Aww. He's like, no, Mom, you need your time. And I'm like, oh my God, like I'm doing this, you know, like I am doing
You earn
this.
his trust.
Exactly.
You brought him back, girl. And I think that's the part where you have to be proud of yourself. But also at the same time, anytime like I see drug addicts on the street, you know, before with Andrea and everything, I used to like be like judging them, but now I'm like, bro, like they have a story, and it's like, even though you feel like, oh, they're just drug addicts, like no, I treat it, I'm like, man, like that was my best friend and I'll gladly give this man $1 because one, you don't know their story, you don't know what they're going through, so rather than having a judgmental mindset, I'm gonna give you $1, and whatever you do with that $1, whatever, you know.
Literally,
but I have so much empathy because once you see one of your best friends, literally, or even your family or whoever, you have empathy because the truth is, guys, y'all don't know a damn thing what people are going through when they're going through them drugs. Y'all don't know a damn thing. People could be in this room right now going through depression. We don't even know it. This world does need to be more kinder to people because you just don't know what the hell people are going through, and you need to have more respect for people and just know, like, you don't know what's in their minds. So let's just be nice. And even if you think, oh, it's just a drug addict, like you don't know what that person's going through. And just having your best friend like going through that, you have empathy. I don't know about y'all, but I have empathy when I see it because I'm like, bro, I don't know what this man's going through. But he was once a person before he became this. That's why I even told my mom, I was like, bro, like I feel for these people. Like, and it wasn't even me who was in it. It's my best friend, bro. It's like, you don't know what that person's going through. So just...
Yeah,
nice.
She actually came to my house to get her hair done by my sister one time, and I was, my hair was messed up, and my face was like full of like, you know, like dark spots because I would pick at my face because of the I used to do, and she was like, "Girl, your hair looks crazy. Go get that shit fixed." and I felt like I was like, "Oh my God!" I knew she was playing, but there was a part of me that was like so embarrassed. Because I was like, I know she's playing, but she doesn't know what like my head is like right now. Yeah, I felt like so like low about myself. But when she said it, I didn't take it the wrong way. But it was like funny, but it kind of caught me off guard because I was like, my hair I didn't know I still roll like that. But.
Yeah, you're like, oh man.
Hey, it's when your best friend tell you, hey, bro, you got some shit in your teeth. That's what it's like.
Exactly. You know that question you asked me, like, when was the breakthrough for like my son and like how did I start? Or I don't know which one of you asked me. But so this is like the most important thing for me. The breakthrough with my son was maybe like a month and a half after, you know, he had been seeing me, you know, on my scheduled days. And then his dad started letting me have him like more frequent, you know, because I was able to build that trust, you know, as with my co-parent. So I wanted to hug him and just love him, you know. I wanted to do that, but I'm like, I'm not gonna invade him like that, you know. I want him to come to me, you know, and I want him to love me when he's ready because I know he still has that, you know, like that pain. And we were at my mom's 50th birthday, and it was like a big, huge party, and you know we rented out a venue. Raquel showed up and never came inside. But anyway, I think things happen for a reason, you know. I would have loved to have you there, but I didn't invite no friends or nothing, and I couldn't drink because I was pregnant, you know. And so I was just sitting down, and he was crying because Oh, he was actually just throwing a fit. But, you know, I kept calling him, and he was just like, no. Anyways, so I was just sitting there, you know, and I was just minding my business, watching people dance, get drunk.
Yeah.
And then he just comes up to me and he sits on my lap. And, like, that was such, like, that was the moment I had been waiting on forever.
Wow.
Like, I remember when I was, like, at the end of my addiction, and I would be in my room, like, bawling my eyes out, and I would, like, hear his voice outside, like, Mom, like, it was sad. I would grab this pillow that was his, and I would hug it, and I would pretend it was him, and I would just sit there and sob.
Aww.
Yeah, that's nice.
It's okay.
So with that being said, I know we running on time right here. So what is the new version of yourself look like? Like, so for me, like the new version of myself when I went through my trauma over 14 years, you know, divorcing, that was very traumatic. So the new version of me looked like I was going to the gym all the time. I'm doing a job that I want, you know. What does the new version of you look like? Like when you...
For me, it's important to live in the moment because I'm not where I want to be, but my kids are not without anything, you know. Thankfully, like some people were bashing me at first because they were like, oh, your parents do so much for you. Like, oh, they baby you too much. And like, you know, they let you do whatever you want and stuff like that. And I was feeling bad because of that. But I'm like, you know what? Like, why are you bashing me for having supportive people? Like, if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be here. So I was always worried about the next thing. And I was so prideful in asking for help. But now that I've had to like put that pride aside, because people make it seem like, oh, I just take and take and take. No, I don't want to do that. And one day I will repay them. But for me, it's like living in the moment and just accepting the help, because not accepting it is what got me there in the first place.
Wow.
And also like just being content with today, not worried about you know, sad about yesterday or worried about tomorrow. Because I know what I want in my heart and what my kids deserve, and I know what plan I have for them, but everything will come on its time. So I think right now, I'm just peaceful. I'm, you know, on my own. I'm celibate. Well, I wouldn't say abstinent because I drink sometimes, but I want to work on that, and I'm just grounded. That's who I am. I'm just grounded.
She definitely, I think Andrea's right when it comes to that. I mean, we could definitely see a lot of growth from the last episode to now, and I'm sure you guys are watching this are like, wow, that like Andrea really, like, she is grounded, she's mature, and we all, like, obviously guys, we all have a past, but our past is not supposed to be a life sentence. It's supposed to be a lesson. And also sometimes our past, it kind of makes us feel like, man, like, I can't believe who we used to be, but it doesn't matter who we used to be. What matters is who we are now and what we do tomorrow. That's what matters. I know some of you guys right now might be going through depression. Maybe you're going through addiction yourself. I want you guys to know it is never, ever too late to get clean. If you are going through any addiction, at all, alcohol, anything like that, we will put resources down. Reach out to me. Reach out to Andrea.
Reach out to me. I'm so willing.
Yes. Reach out to Andrea, the baby doll. Andrea, let's say somebody's watching this right now. They are going through drug addiction. What advice would you give to them where they're like, I don't know if I can stay clean. I don't know.
The easy part is getting clean. The hard part is staying sober. Try everything. Try the methadone. Try the Suboxone, the Subutex. Try the rehab. Try the mental health facilities. Try going cold turkey at your grandma's house. If you need to go out of state and you have the ability, do that. If you need to go into a sober living, if you go to prison, if that's what it takes, you know, go to a sober living. You will be happy with the results. I can't even count on my toes and fingers how many times I tried to get sober until I finally got it right. You will get it right. You just have to find what works for you. And I'm willing to help out with that.
Make sure you guys follow at Andrea, the baby doll. I want to thank you so much, Andrea. Let's give her a big round of applause. Not only is she here, she changed her life, and don't think that can't be you. If you guys are going through any addiction, like I said, here's some resources. And guys, just because of where you are right now, keep going. Don't give up. I promise you, it will get better. Life gets better. Peace out. Whew. Next episode.